You know that I have a penchant for wanting to talk to women who are definitely doing their things their way, differently, way
Yeah.
outside the norm. Because that's what Rebel Tribe is all about. We are all about defying the norm. So, welcome to today's podcast, where empowerment meets attitude and sass definitely meets savvy. Our guest today is Sharon Bense, and boy, does she do things different. Starting with
Thanks.
her marriage. She's married to a gentleman from Hungary, no less. So, yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah, he was living in Austin, as was I. And we met online on eHarmony. I was actually his first online date ever. And I joke that he was my millionth. I'd been dating online for years. And we clicked. Yeah. And I was looking to get serious at that point in my life as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. I love him, by the way. I was totally prepared to
Okay.
not like either of you. So yes, let me tell you the story about that, because
Oh, please do.
that house was not always there. That
Yeah. So I
house,
live across the street from you.
yes, and that house was not always there. And pre owners of that house, that was lovely landscape. And when the gentleman who owned all of that property over there decided to move, at that time there was a covenant that you had to have 5 acres to build a house. So when he was
Oh, wow.
moving, we did not want all of that property, but we also did not want a house. So we bought
Yeah.
two and a
Wow.
half acres. So we own that 2.5 acres next to you on the other side of your house.
Yes.
That's ours. We
Yeah.
own that, and we bought just that much so that nobody could build a house. Right? But
Wow.
but somehow the builders of that house managed to break the covenant, and that house went up.
Wow.
And when
Wow.
you guys
Wow.
bought it, I was just like,
Sure.
it's
Sure.
like I was totally prepared to not like you at all. And
Yeah. Well, you never know what you're getting, right? Getting a loud family, I mean, you just never know who's going to move in.
so I have since adapted to the fact that my view is now of your house. I
Oh,
sit I
I
sit
know.
sideways now. I sit sideways now, so it's okay.
Sure. Oh, I bet that was
But
really hard to come to terms out here.
oh, you died there, girl. You froze up on me.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
it's okay. So for those of you who have not turned into these before, uh, I'm sure those of you that are regular listeners and viewers know that I live on a dirt road, and the internet out here is iffy at best on a good day, and it's been storming the last several days, and we're supposedly, I guess, getting more tonight. So the internet will be up and down, up and down. If it gets really bad, then yes, I will stop the interview and we'll try again. But if it's not that bad, we just push on through, because otherwise I would never get anything done. I am not inclined to move. I moved out here for a reason. And so we just push on through and deal with it. If you can't deal with it, tune out. That's all I can tell
Agreed.
you.
Yep.
Tune out. That's all I can tell you. It is what it is. This is
There
what
you
you get,
go.
and push for that internet bill that's going to give us all the high-speed internet that we all need when we live out in the boonies. Okay.
Yes.
Get that thing done. But anyway, so
Seriously.
so yeah, so that was the first thing that intrigued me, was when I met your husband. I was like, well, my goodness. And then I
Yeah.
discovered that you were an animal loving, plant loving, outdoor
Yeah.
girl like me, and it was like, cool. But then I found out what really wanted me to get me to talk to you was your school. Oh my gosh. So when I
Yeah.
found out you had a farm school, it's like, what is that? What is that? What is a farm school? What do you teach the kids? I mean, surely we're not teaching them
Sure.
farming, are we? What are we teaching them?
We are teaching them farming. So we are a little micro school in Bentonville, Arkansas, and we teach a lot of the regular curriculum. and we do it on a 5-acre, more like a hobby farm situation. We've got goats and a pig and a donkey and chickens and 2 cats, and we raise baby chicks, and we have a couple ducks. And the students are very involved in the caring for all of that. We
Sweet.
also have a huge garden and a hoop house where we seed start everything. But yeah, we kind of set it up for different learners. Different learners can be a huge spectrum of things. So really anything that would come to mind. Kids that can't sit in a desk all day, students that might have a diagnosis of autism or Down syndrome. We are attracting a lot of kids with anxiety, trauma, all kinds of different abilities at our school. With that also comes gifted and talented kids. So we have quite a mix. We have 15 students currently enrolled. We're in year 6 of being open. We're looking at expanding this coming year or 2 with a new building. We are a nonprofit private school, so we're always very broke and always trying to raise money. We do accept we don't call it voucher program here in Arkansas, but I think most people would be familiar with the voucher term, where people can take the taxes they pay that go to public school, and they can bring that money to a private school, which amounts to between $6,000 and $7,000. So we are tuition based, and yeah, we're outside a lot. We have a lot of garden style classrooms where we can learn outside. My particular classroom is a garage style building, so the doors can open. We have eat lunch outside. We have an hour for lunch every day, so a really nice break for the kids that we tend to keep unstructured, but sometimes we need to structure it if students need something a little different that day. Today and yesterday, our creek has been filled up because we've been getting a lot of rain. So I always invite the kids to come down to the creek with me. I don't always get the chance to do that. So yeah, we're just kind of a different change of pace for students. We are currently grades 2nd through 12th right now. We're looking at starting a kindergarten program here soon. We just don't have that up and running quite yet. So yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating because I knew you, how do I want to put this? I knew that most of your students were kind of outside the mainstream, I guess.
Yep.
But I wasn't aware that you have such a wide, diverse group of students. How do you teach so many different types of students in such a little setting? I'm thinking one room
Yeah.
schoolhouse and thinking I'm going to be upfront right
Yeah.
now. I've considered being a teacher and was like, no, I would kill myself or the children within the
Sure.
first day.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot of work. I don't personally have children, which I think really helps me to be able to get through my day. I don't come home to students, which is nice. We do run kind of a one-room style schoolhouse. We have 2 teachers right now. We are split up for math and social studies. We do whole group science learning, and my other teacher does a whole group English language arts, but she has them divided up into 3 groups and they rotate. We have some different assistants that are part-time and full-time, so they run kind of those smaller groups. So we try to keep our ratios at 6-to-1, 8-to-1. Even when we're full group for science, I'm the science and math teacher. We have assistants, at least one in the room or more, depending on the day or the need at that time. It is a challenge. I was a public school teacher for 20 plus years in the special education sector. When I moved here to Arkansas, I had taught in Texas and New York, so some pretty broad spectrum states if we're talking about education. And I realized when I moved here that the special education department in this area was really lacking, 10 to 20 years kind of behind where I'd taught in the past. It's kind of like a little glimpse into my first couple of years of teaching. So these kids weren't really being served. We tend to take kind of the tweener kids, kind of those kids that get lost in the cracks. Um, a lot of schools serve the really low functioning kids really, really well. And then they serve the neurotypical kids really, really well. And then you have those kind of neurodiverse kids that kind of get stuck in the middle, kids that maybe could hold down a job, but can't go to college. Maybe they could do a trade school, but they're not going to get a master's. So we're attracting those students right now. When we originally opened the school, my co-founder needed a school for her son who was on the spectrum. And we envisioned it being neurodiverse and neurotypical, which means normal, for lack of a better word, or for explain it like I'm five terms. And then students that also might have a diagnosis and be slated for special education in the public school. So neurodiverse means that you might have a diagnosis, or neurotypical means your brain functions pretty normally. We envisioned having a mix of both kids, but we quickly realized that if we were attracting the neurodiverse population, it was difficult to attract the neurotypical population. We had a couple here and there. When COVID hit, we kind of pivoted and we invited students who were going online with the public schools to kind of come and do their online coursework with us outside, so as not to spread COVID around as much. We had a great campus ready to roll for outdoor learning, and we took advantage of that. And we brought some neurotypical kids that year. But it wasn't ideal for them. It was difficult for them to find peers. So we've morphed into pretty much what the community needs, which is a school for different learners. We are always open to pivoting and changing. We've been looking at starting a program called Futures, which could serve the population that's aging out of the public school systems and private school systems. Job training, internships, kind of programs like that. As students age with us, and if they're going to be looking for more of a job type program, we want to get them those skills. We have our mission and vision is independent life of purpose, to kind of sum it up in just a couple words. We want these kids to live as a fulfilling life as we can. We are pushing students out into different work programs. We have a living program here where we have graduated a student too. So yeah, our community seemed to really need a school for those tweener kids, those kids that were being left behind in the public school system.
Well, I applaud you as a different learner. I'm so dyslexic, it's not even funny. So
Yes, we
and they didn't
attract a lot
have
of dyslexic
those.
students. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
not a
we
thing back in my day. I was just stupid and slow. Okay.
sure, yeah, I can relate. I was really behind in math. I was also highly anxious as a child. I really struggled in my younger grades. Our English language arts teacher is dyslexia certified, and she's wonderful. We do attract a lot of dyslexia students. Yeah,
Yeah, so it
goes
would have been
highly
wonderful
underdiagnosed.
because yes, because I am also gifted and talented, but dyslexic. So it was a
Yeah,
struggle. It was a struggle.
I'll bet. I'll bet they often go hand in hand. And were you diagnosed?
No, well, they didn't. There was no such thing as dyslexia back in my day.
Yeah,
You were just
sure, sure.
silly. You were just slow in some things. So
Yeah,
yeah. So if I had to read, I mean, I got bullied a lot because I'd be reading and I'd be like, I would see spring and the word was really morning. Well, it's not that nobody was like, oh, well, you're just, no, you're just stupid and can't read. Okay.
yeah.
It's like I learned
So many
quickly that you
kids.
never read
Yeah.
aloud. You never get up in front of the room and read ever.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Ever.
So many kids
Okay.
are still
Mm.
being undiagnosed with dyslexia in the public schools. And they come to us, yeah, with no confidence. They've been bullied,
Yeah.
and so now they're
Yeah.
bullying. We
Yeah.
focus a lot on the social skills piece.
Yep.
Every day after our hour and a half, our hour lunch, we have a half hour of how did lunch go? What do we need to work on? Tell me about your conflicts, where we just hammer in the social skills part of it.
Yep.
Because often, just like you were saying, these kids are coming to us bullied, low self-confidence, and they don't know what a typical social interaction should even look like.
Yep. You check your math like 4 or 5 times before you turn it in because you know you have a tendency to flip numbers.
Oh,
Okay. So
yes.
it's like, everybody else is breezing through the math in 20 minutes and you take your full allotted hour because you know that you may have flipped, you probably flipped a number somewhere if you're not careful,
Yeah,
if you're trying
sure.
to hurry. So yeah, back then,
Yeah,
and there was more than just me. There was a couple others in my class that I have discovered since then were probably also dyslexic. But yeah,
no.
we learned on our own how to get through by doing things like that, by checking each other's math and skipping school if we knew we were doing oral presentations. so,
Yes. Yeah, you accommodated for yourself.
so
You accommodated for
so
yourself. No one else was, so you had to.
so we managed, but it was challenging, yes. But and then my daughter and granddaughter are also dyslexic, so
Ah, wow, wow.
so it is hereditary, I guess. But yes, so I applaud because trust me, it was. And their answer back then, they were diagnosed, and the answer back then was, let's put them in special ed. And I was like, absolutely positively not, because I
Yes.
know what special
Yeah.
ed in the schools is like, and you will not, because they are also both gifted and talented. And so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, not happening. Okay. Well,
Absolutely. Good job. Yeah. Before opening Clover, I was doing advocate work in the public schools with families that were struggling with things exactly like that. Yeah.
yep, and that's all you need, because they would have been labeled. And now, I mean, now my granddaughter is getting ready to go. She's going to college, and with plans to go
Yay.
on to medical school. So and doing well. I
Wow.
mean, doing good grief.
Absolutely.
Allergy season out here is killing
Absolutely.
me.
Oh,
So
I know.
I
My
don't
voice
know that she would have had that
dancing.
opportunity in the special ed class. She would have been labeled. And so
Absolutely. Yep.
so yeah. So hats off to you, girl.
Thanks.
I'm like amazed. What in the heck prompted you to start a farm school? I mean, I understand that you were looking for a place for your co-founder's son. I get that. But a
Sure.
farm school is kind of out of the norm.
Yeah.
So
It was certainly not in my long-term place. I had taught in public school here 1 year and realized it was not for me. And I started doing advocate work and just tutoring students privately. And I met this young woman, Kimberly. I was tutoring her daughter, and her daughter was ADHD and specialty. And Kimberly walked in one day and Kim was hanging upside down from her chair, and we were probably studying vocabulary words or something of the sort. And she kind of got on to her daughter and was like, sit up, sit at the table. And I stopped her and I was like, nope, she's perfectly fine. If she needs to hang upside down to learn her vocabulary, I don't mind. Um, and she was like, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. And the next day she came to me or called me, and she talked to me about her son, who I hadn't met. He was on the spectrum, and talked for a long time. We realized we had a lot in common. She had been advocating for him in the public schools, and coming up empty-handed. She had him at a private school currently. And I continued tutoring her daughter, and we continued kind of forming a relationship. We became friends. And shortly after that, she said, let's open a school together. And I kind of laughed at her. And I was like, absolutely not. I am loving my life. I was making my own schedule, tutoring, advocating. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I had a lot of freedom that I'd never had before, being a teacher for so long in the public schools. And carried on doing what I was doing for another year, two. Kept running across families. I was getting busier and busier. My schedule was filling up with students that needed tutoring or homeschooling. I was running across all these families that were being put on homebound by the public schools because they couldn't handle their behaviors. And I realized the community needed something different. Went crawling back to Kimberly, and I said, "You're right. We need to do something. We need to fill this gap. Let's open a school." But really, my secret plan was to help her get it started and get some of these parents that also needed the school, and then I would step away. And we were just looking for strip mall properties. We weren't looking for anything fancy. We certainly weren't looking for a farm. And we kind of kept coming up empty-handed. We looked at some churches. We looked at some old hospital buildings, and just couldn't find anything. So, and I was unable to pawn her off on other people. So it was just the two of us. There was three of us for a while. Other lady couldn't really hang. And within 9 months of me going back to Kimberly, we eventually found the farm, begged a local bank to give us a loan, and we opened Clover Community School. Kimberly is a workhorse. She is a former lawyer, and she just got it going. I did all the classroom education stuff. She did all the behind the scenes paperwork, and we opened a school. It was not in my plans, and now I'm in year 6 of it. So I think it taught me a really important lesson to really be open to doing a complete 180 with your life. I was closed off to it for too long. And I think, what if we had opened 2 years earlier? Who could we have served? Who did we miss? But I can't do the what ifs, and we have to look forward. And yeah, so here we are in year 6, growing. We're doing okay.
So I know you're a private school, but does that mean okay, so I imagine you say you're teaching the regular curriculum. So are there still requirements that you have to meet like the public schools do? Or I don't know how, I mean, I know my grandkids all went to
So
private
glad you
schools out
asked.
here because I sent the
Sure.
grandkids to private school to get their start. They went to public school in the high school, but they started in private school because, as you
Nice.
know,
Yeah.
okay, because
Yes.
okay,
Right.
and
Education in Arkansas. And this won't surprise you at all then when I tell you that there is one requirement if you would like to open a school in the state of Arkansas, and it is that you fly the American flag. That's it. That's the only requirement. You
are
don't
you
need a
kidding me?
building or a bathroom or a certified teacher. I could not make it up. Yeah.
If I'd have known
State
that,
of
I'd
Arkansas.
open my own dang school.
You could in your backyard tomorrow, as long as you
Yeah.
are flying the American flag. Yeah.
For the if I'd have known that, I'd have done something for the grandkids because the schools used to, oh my gosh, it was like, are you kidding me? What are they
Yeah.
teaching you?
Yeah.
Don't they? So
We were
yeah.
both stunned. Kimberly and I are both not from Arkansas. And we were pretty much jaws on the floor when we heard that. But at the same time, not surprised, because that is why we were opening a school, because the education here is subpar.
Yeah, it's like I said, and it's that way in a lot of states. So my own kids went to private school right up until we moved out here, and by then, like, they were in high school and they wanted to go to public school, and so they
Sure,
could do
sure.
band and everything with this. So it was like, okay, but yeah, we've always lived in, unfortunately, being military, we've lived in states where
Yeah, yeah.
education was, you would think the military would have better education in there, I don't know, bases would be in
Yeah, I'm
places with
surprised they haven't.
bases would be
Yeah.
in states with better educations. I don't know, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
weren't. Right? So yeah, the kids went to private school because
Sure. Yeah.
so
But they had a flagpole.
so that just amazes me. So there's no educational standards that you have to meet or anything. That's just
So with the LEARNS Act that recently passed, there are new standards in place. We, for the first time this year, had to test our kids using norm standards. We were not happy about it. We do assess our students, but we assess them at a level they're at. The Learns Act now states that we have to test them on the grade level that they are in. And then what's really unfortunate is that our results will be publicly posted. So for example, we have a student who is 17, has severe cerebral palsy, brain damage. He functions academically on about a first grade level. He's a non-reader. And we had to give him a high school level test because of the Learns Act.
Get me started on standardized
Yeah.
testing. That's a whole new,
So
that is a whole new podcast, and maybe we will address that someday. I would love to maybe
yeah,
get it, because standardized testing, yeah, we'll address that
my
another time.
co-founder would love to be your host for that. Yeah, and she could talk about the Learns Act, because yeah, it is a whole nother podcast. The Learns Act also gives families the vouchers to come to our school. We, being a public school teacher, I was against the school voucher program. It does pull money from the public schools and gives it to private schools. However, for my students at my school, they were not being served appropriately in the public school. So I am thrilled they can take that money from the public school and take it to their school of choice. However, with the Learns Act being passed, it is now opening that up to all students, not just special education students, which it was in the past. So yeah, the Learns Act is
The
it's an
subject of another
interesting,
podcast. Yes, I think I
yeah,
might have to actually put together a little panel discussion about that, now that you brought it to my, every time I hear about it on the news or something, I
yeah,
just cringe, but I kind of put it to the side, because my kids well,
sure,
all except one granddaughter. I've
yeah.
got one granddaughter that's left in school out here. And I need to talk to her mom about coming to your school, because I think she'd be a good fit
Yeah,
there, because she is also neurodiverse.
definitely. We accept the Learns Act voucher, and we also have private scholarships available as well.
So I need to talk to her mama. I think she might be very much happier there. She's an animal
Yeah.
lover and an outdoor lover, and
Oh,
and is not doing as well as she could in the
sure,
public schools. But so
sure.
yes, but that is a topic of conversation. That whole thing. Yes, I'm
Yes,
filing that aside. I'm putting that on my list of things to discuss, is standardized
it is
testing
important.
and the Learns
Yeah,
Act, because it's
it's an
one of my
important topic. Yeah.
soapboxes. One of my soapboxes. But I want to get back
Mhm.
to how you, I mean, because okay, so you moved to a whole new state and start a whole new
Yeah,
school, and that I'm just thinking of how many women would do that. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I wouldn't.
I've always been a risk taker. Remember when we found the property, I kind of sent it to my co-founder as a joke. Like, oh, look at this property. It's listed as $1 million. Because it's a beautiful property. You're familiar
Oh,
with it.
oh yeah, I drive by it all the
Um,
time.
it's forever. It's had these beautiful red barn-like style buildings on them, and the animals that came with the farm have been there for years. And a cute swing that hangs from the tree branch right by the road. Chickens wandering by, ducks. I've just driven by it every day for the past 4 years. And so when I saw it, it was available, at a priced way too high, and I sent it to her as a joke, and we found out we had some friends in common, and on Facebook, and so we reached out to them and got a little more info, and sure enough, they had bought the property. They were trying to transition it into a home. It had been a Walmart vendor property, and were looking to sell the house, sell the property. And they met with us and immediately were engaged with our vision. They were actually going to live on the property, but they were looking to turn it into use for a Boy Scout camp. They knew it was such a gorgeous property. It has a creek on it, sometimes creek, beautiful trees. There's a little property in between, but really close by is Little Sugar Creek, which we have access to if we want through our neighbor. And yeah, once we met with them, they brought it down to our price range, and the rest is history. So yeah, it was a very big leap. It all happened very fast, and faster than we had definitely planned. We had even talked about sitting on it for another year. But this area was also begging for something like this. I remember calling my friends in Austin, where I moved from, and saying, you need to come up here and start whatever business you want. This area was experiencing a huge boom. It's kind of right before the big boom hit, and I could kind of see it happening. I watched it happen to Austin years ago, and I knew we were on to a good booming city. So I think we just hit it at the right time. This place is still ripe for businesses, I feel like.
Oh, definitely. We are still growing in a way that's very, very good. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, because we moved here to get away from all that. It's
Yes,
like,
I feel you. So did I. Yeah,
and now it's like every
so
time
did
I
I.
drive into town, it's like, where did that come from? When did that road go
Yeah,
through? Where does that?
yeah.
There's
And the word traffic becomes so relative, right? I mean,
yes.
I moved from Austin where it took me 30 minutes to go 3 miles. But here, if I sit at the light twice, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much traffic. And it
So,
can't even compare to the traffic I used to sit in.
well, I know it's crazy, but lots of opportunity. So yes, on the one hand,
Yeah.
yes, lots of opportunity, and the other part of me is going to say, please don't come. Okay,
Yes,
please don't
I
come.
know. I
We have
totally
enough people. We
understand.
have enough people. Don't come.
Yep, we're full. Thank you. Yep.
No,
No, no.
it's all good. I just love it. My husband laughs at me because I'll be out driving around and he'll take a turn and I'll be like, oh my gosh, when did all these roads go in?
Yes.
When did all
Yes,
this
just in
come?
our neighborhood.
I know it's like
Yeah.
crazy, but anyway, it's all good. So you tell me the kids are learning farming skills. So really, like,
They do. Yeah, they every morning we have farm chores. They rotate between livestock, chickens, and as they call it, the boring indoor chores. Which, just involves sweeping, feeding the cat, cleaning the litter box, wiping the counters. I do chickens. So we just raised some baby chicks after spring break, and we just transitioned them
oh,
outside. So it's
my
really
baby chicken.
fun. It becomes a huge part of our lessons. So much of our science is hands-on, in the moment, experiential. I often have to pivot, like, oh my gosh, we just found a huge garden orb weaver spider in our garden.
Ooh,
Let's
I
capture
love
it and watch him
orb.
for 2 weeks. So I can't ever lesson plan my science because I never know what's gonna come up. We try to do very hands-on what's happening at the farm.
I want baby
So that's
chickens.
really,
I love
I
baby
know,
chickens.
they're so cute.
I love
They're
baby.
teenagers now. They're just annoying.
And orb weavers.
And
I love
then
my orb weavers.
yes, same. And then we have some goats, a pig, and a donkey, and the kids do all the care for that. They learn, the types of feed and when you feed them, hoof care, even caring for sick chickens. We have cats that, they have to make sure they're not getting ticks. And if we do, they have to make the appointment at the vet, and we load them up and the kids take the cats to the vet. And they have to talk to the vet. We do a lot of community-based instruction, which you might know as field trips is a fun word for it. At least once a week, students go to Walmart and get whatever we need, or we go out to lunch and they have to order meals. They go to Dollar General and have to navigate the store. The kids also navigate to the store we're going to or to the restaurant we're going to using their phones. We don't, we're not technology based at all, but we know that technology is a thing, and the kids have Chromebooks, do typing club, and they learn how to do research on the computers. So we want to make them well-rounded individuals. We're not just trying to raise farmers. So we're kind of doing the whole gamut. So from farm care to typing club.
So you basically are teaching them how to survive in this world once they graduate from school, which is
Yep.
fabulous because
Independent life of purpose. Yeah.
most of us graduated from school without a clue. Okay. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I have a student right now who's in high school who's doing an online finance course.
that's
The state of
awesome.
Arkansas does not require our high schoolers take finance, but a lot of states do.
Just so stupid.
Um,
I'm
oh,
sorry.
I know.
Give
What's
me,
the meme going around right now?
yep.
Boy, I'm sure glad I learned the square
Uh,
root of 144 instead of how to do my taxes.
yeah, I know. Yank me down off my soapbox. Here we go. Don't get me started again. But yeah, so
I
yes.
know.
Okay. So yes, you're teaching these students how to actually be able to live and take care of
Yeah.
themselves after graduation.
Yeah.
I think that's fabulous because they
Yeah.
don't
Our
even
high school
teach.
kids also, our high school kids also cook their own lunch. We've got 5 kids that cook in the kitchen every day. They bring simple, simple stuff you cook for lunch, box mac and cheese. Throw some quick chicken on our panini press, quesadillas. So yeah, once they double, they bring stuff and they cook their lunch every day.
Oh, that's awesome. I know
Yeah.
grown people that can't cook because they were never taught. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I was one of them. Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been really fascinating. I've learned a lot about the school system in general.
Yeah.
You've reminded me that I really need to get some people on here so we can talk about the importance of non-standardized testing
Sure. Yeah, sure,
and
sure.
some other issues. And yeah, and I've learned a lot about your school that I didn't know, and I know some people that might be a good fit for it. So I'm going to
Yeah,
mention
you
it
should come
to
out for a
them.
visit.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
come when you have baby chickens, you call me. I didn't know you had baby
Yeah,
chickens. I love baby chickens.
I know. Me too. Every spring, we'll probably raise some baby guineas in the fall too.
Oh, that would work.
Our new neighbor down the street has fertilized guinea eggs, and we love incubating eggs. So we'll probably do that in the fall.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her little guineas. They crack me up.
Yes, I'm glad they're not any closer to us though, because they're very loud.
Well, that's the Benny of living out where we live. Actually, there's a lot of space between us, except for you being right across the
Yes.
road, but still, it's not that bad. I've
Sure, sure.
learned to accept you. No.
We try to be quiet. We try to be quiet.
You are, and that's helpful. You are quiet, and
Yeah,
that's helpful. Okay.
it is. Yeah. I do love our little corner down here. It's very quiet.
It's, that was, yeah, I think that was the first thing. I think my husband actually met you first before I did, and that was the first thing he said is like, they don't have any kids. They don't plan on having any kids. They're not partiers. We might be
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And I was like,
I remember when I met him, he was very grumpy. And I totally understood why. He told me an abbreviated version of the story. And yeah, I was like, oh, that broke my heart because I would have been the same way, sadly.
yeah, we're a little bit set in our ways, but hey,
Absolutely.
we're
Yeah.
old enough to be allowed to be that way. So
Yes, yes, we are.
all righty,
Love
my
it.
girl. Well, this has been fascinating. So, and yes, put that on your schedule. I want to probably get you and your co-founder and a couple others and let us discuss
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
state
Let me
of
know if you need some others.
education,
Yeah.
not just in Arkansas, but in the United States in general, because
Absolutely.
it's sad. Okay, it's sad. I can vouch for
I
many
know.
states that I have lived in, and I can now vouch. I can get my daughters who now live out of state and are still crying about the school system. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's,
it's
it's in
like,
rough shape.
when are we going to fix it? It's pretty sad. I mean, I've got some
Yeah.
real horror stories just about things when I'll mention something to my grandkids that are grown up and working in college age now, and I'll say something and they'll just kind of look at me like, huh? And the
Yeah,
first words out
sure.
of my mouth is, didn't they teach you this in school? Well,
I
no.
know.
I'm like,
I know.
seriously? Okay. What
It's very
exactly do they
depressing
teach
how
you in school now?
yeah, how far we've come down in education. Yeah.
It's sad. So, and I think, oh, give us quick. I almost forgot. So, local people, because I do have lots of local people that listen to us.
Yeah,
Surprise.
great.
How do they get a hold of you if they're interested in your school?
Sure. We have a website, clovercommunityschool.org. However, our Facebook page is much more vibrant and fun and easy to post on. Clover Community School, you'll find us if you type that in. You can look at all of our cute little animal pictures, and our kids are pretty cute too. We're planting in our garden right now, so we've got a lot of garden photos. I think our post today was us in the creek. Our sometimes creek has a little bit of water flowing in it,
How are
which
you
is our
planting in
favorite
your
to
garden
do.
with all the rain? Because I still don't have mine planted because everything's wet and soggy.
We are just wrapping up our winter garden. We have not planted in the garden yet. I have planted before Mother's Day and been burned. So we'll not do that again. So everything is still in our hoop house. So we will be planting. The forecast looks good right now for not getting any more freezes. So we'll probably plant here at the end of next week. Because it's a little bit soggy right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
I know
little
it's
bit.
ridiculous, but anyway.
Yeah. Very muddy. I'll bring you some plants though. So yeah, find us on Facebook or on Instagram, and TikTok as well.
Cool. And I will put the link to all those things in the description of the video and the
Thanks.
podcast, so you can link up to
Great.
her and find her if you're local and want to send your kids to her school.
Yeah,
It
come out
sounds
for a tour.
fascinating. And if you are not local and you're thinking that your community needs like a school, like a
Yes.
real school,
Yes.
and you want
Something
some
different.
tips on how to get started, I'll bet you she'd be willing to help you.
Absolutely.
So I will post all that information so you guys can connect if you're interested.
Thanks so much, Melodian.
All righty. Thank you for being on today.
My pleasure.